Well, good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, I heard to get here. Had to hurry up and get here.
I'm usually running behind, so you actually beat me here. That was and that's usually the way it is. I'm
Not by much.
not by much. And so today we're talking to Ernest, and you are now officially on the Honor Cafe Hall of Heroes.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, the Honor Cafe. It's a great place, and this is our project to capture your stories, our local veterans, our heroes, because everybody that serves is a hero, and we're just honoring you today. So let's start by asking you where you're from.
I'm from Crosby, Texas.
Carlsbad, Texas. Where is that?
Close to Houston.
Close to Houston. I've never heard of that. Is it a suburb of Houston?
You know where Baytown is?
Yeah, I know where Baytown is.
It's right next door.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Highlands, Baytown.
Okay, and you grew up there.
Yeah.
And when did you enter service?
1966.
1966. Tell us about that.
Well, I was in college, and that's when the draft was going on big.
Yeah.
And I sure didn't want the Army, because I've been on Boy Scouts camping trips, hunting trips. I didn't want that full time.
Did you ever make Eagle Scout?
No.
No, that was just too much, right?
Yeah.
Full time.
And so I checked into the Air Force. Man, he said, you got a 6-month waiting list. You'll probably get drafted. Well, the Marines don't draft, so I went to the Navy. Oh, it was an open door. You go right in. So I told him what I wanted to do. He said, we got the 120-day delay program. I said, fine. Give me time to get such atoms and pages in order.
Yes.
So I got my physical, got my letter too, but I was already signed on a dotted line.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, just blew that off. No Army for me. Both my brothers were in the Army. My dad was in the Army. World War II. That was enough.
Yeah.
So I left for the Navy in April of '66. I'd never been never been too far from home anyway. So, but we went by train. And that was unusual for me because I didn't ever been one. So.
Where'd you take a train to?
San Diego, California.
Really? And what year was that?
66.
1966. Okay.
And got off the train in I think San Diego, and there was a big gray bus waiting for us. So we got on, filled that bus up too, and then we went in and unloaded in front of a sign that says Recruit Training Depot, San Diego, California. And there was you had to get on a yellow footprints, I think it was, or squares. And that was going to be a billet number. You got to remember that billet number, because that's where you're going to stand every time. But they didn't have room for us, so we had to stay in that headquarters in a dorm up there. So after that, we went through a induction process to get out of civilian clothes, get into military clothes. We got everything except a hat. No covers at all. And then that California sun, and our heads were peeled.
Oh.
The heads blistered.
Wow.
And I remember you had to take this battery of test, and you stand there, your head itches. Oh, and you reach up and scratch it, and it's like potato chips fall on the paper, and you got to blow it off. Finally, we got baseball caps. That's what they furnished us with. But you stay on one side for a while. after so long you cross over a bridge into the,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's when you go to marching classes and drills this, drills that, but a lot of it's on TV, closed circuit television, and classroom. But you got to take a test too. Finally, my commander was first class, name of Brisbane. I got a picture of him, I sent you.
Yeah.
And so he was a hard nose, but it didn't matter. So he bet everybody a spaghetti dinner that he could outshoot everybody on the rifle range. I said, okay. I didn't think nothing of it because he can't pay off anyway. So I shot 290, scored 290 out of 300. And then when we got back to the barracks, he had these targets. And he called me up front. He says, oh no, he started with his lowest one.
Yeah.
He hit a bull in the ass with a bass fiddle. Well, you shoot. But then he finally got to me. He says, where'd you learn to shoot? I said, I hunted all my life. If we got anything besides chicken and hamburger, we had to go shoot it or butcher it.
Yeah.
So that's the way I grew up. And after boot camp, there was a graduation was unique is because of the airline strike back in '66, and you couldn't get a plane, train, or bus nowhere.
Wow.
But we got on Liberty. We got the 1 day Liberty, so we fanned out all over town trying to find a transportation. I had one guy from Galveston, John Stapleton, and he found Ava's rental car. They had a car that they wanted in Houston. That's where we were going. So we reserved that, and there were 6 of us got in that car, and we headed to Houston. Like to run off the mountain twice.
Oh, man.
I never did get to drive. So, but we made it back. The car sideswiped one of these barriers for going over the cliff.
Yeah.
And it's a long way down too. And we've been up the side, but thank goodness we had insurance covered.
Yeah.
So we filled it up with gas and turned it over to them. And we had, had a little bit of leave.
Yeah.
So I went back to San Diego because my A school was in San Diego.
So when you went enlisted, but how much college did you have done at that point?
I was a freshman.
You were a freshman. So what was your training then when you went back? When you went back to the San Diego?
It was A school was corpsman.
Corpsman.
Hospital corpsman. I figured that was well, whenever the instructor gave us our assignments,
yeah,
they were all over the United States and overseas too.
Yeah.
He says, "You know what you're getting into?" I said, "Well, I got clean sheets, 3 meals a day." He says, "Don't you know you can go to the Marine Corps?" I said, "Oh well." And so they don't camp out like that, Army. So, but I went through A school. You learn everything short of becoming short of a nurse.
Yeah.
You can meds, treatments, injections, everything. And I got my assignment was Yokosuka, Japan. I loved that. I spent a little over a year in Japan.
Yeah.
I spoke a little bit of Japanese, learned it. If you submerge into it, you pick up more.
Yeah.
And but since then, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah.
So, but I was on a surgical ward.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a socialite. I didn't go out drinking. That was, I didn't like. You drink to feel good, and then you drink to feel. No, I don't like hangovers. I treated some for hangovers.
Yeah.
With orange juice, milk, and oxygen. So,
So after that year in Japan, what happened?
I got orders back to San Diego, not Oakland, California. The only two of us out of about 200. We was the only two that got orders back for some advanced training.
Yeah. What happened after your advanced training?
We went to Vietnam.
The place you were trying to avoid.
We knew where we were going.
Yeah.
It was inevitable. But in San Diego, I don't know what he trained at because I didn't see him.
Yeah.
But in Oakland, I went to the pharmacy.
Mm-hmm.
And in the pharmacy, I learned how to transcribe prescriptions, dispense them, fill the prescriptions, and do compounds. All sorts of prescription work.
Yeah.
And then went to Vietnam, and I think it was Trans World Airways or Pan Am. Got on that plane. Everybody going to Vietnam, and we landed in. Well, first off was Hawaii, Wake Island, and then Vietnam. I think that's the way it went. It might be off, but I tell people I've been halfway around the world 4 times. I ain't got around yet. So, but Wake Island is like a postage stamp in a bathtub.
Yeah.
Small. When you land on it, you look out, you're over water. When you get to the plane to turn around, you swing out, you're over water. And you taxi back. And of course, we didn't disembark, so.
Yeah.
But when we take off, back over water,
Yeah.
then all the way up. But it wasn't scary at all. So. But we landed in Hickman Airport, Hickman Field in Hawaii, and we did get off the plane because they didn't want any fire hazards.
Yeah.
But we didn't stay long, so. But then we went on to Vietnam and landed in Da Nang. And we got off the plane with all our gear and looked around, and it just looked like mass confusion. And so, but they had us go into this Quonset hut, and see where we went. There's a bunch of them going different places. I remember me and about 3 others. We went to Camp Tinchaw to await a helicopter to our destination.
Mm-hmm.
And too far from what they call Mag 16, Marine Air Wing 16.
Mm-hmm.
And one night it's boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom. The Vietnamese were bombing the airstrip. They hit nothing but the runway. But the siren went off. And there was a bunker a little ways out of the barracks there. It was just big open buildings, all it was. And so a sergeant said, come got us and put us in there. And some couple of Marines stayed with us. But after a while, it was all over with, so we went back in. That was the only experience there. But didn't have you had to take malaria pills. An orange one to give you.
Oh yeah, I remember those.
Diarrhea.
Yeah, they were horrible.
Yeah, and we didn't get any, but we were in transit, and I got malaria. The mosquitoes were everywhere.
Yeah.
So got out on the ship, went by Huey. I think it was Huey, and we landed on the ship, and we went to OD. This officer of the deck, and got our assignments, and deckhands went one way and the corpsman went the other way. And I think there was in second deck down was your quarters. The head was on the one end and the showers were on the other end. And these racks, about that thick, no pillow. You had to steal one somebody off an empty bed somewhere.
Yeah, that's why I didn't like the Navy.
Yeah, but it improved later on. And I was wondering what that strap, two straps on it, what that was for. So later on, I found out. So my rack was second from the bottom, thank goodness. But they're 6 or 9 high.
Yeah, it's 6. It's 6 high. Yeah,
6 high?
Yeah, it's 6 high.
I knew it was way up. But there was several hundred of us in there.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for air conditioning. And I went to the director of nursing, DON, and she recognized me from Japan. She was one of my charge nurses on Japan. So she says, I got just the place for you because I worked with he was a fantastic doctor, Dr. Hauser.
Yeah.
I worked with him in surgery, and I got just a place for you. And she put me in ICU, and that's where I stayed. And I became senior corpsman after a while. So I was assigned all the patients, corpsmen, according to what condition they were in.
Yeah.
All of them were critical.
Yeah.
Serious to critical. And it was an experience. And we got it was like a big family.
Yeah.
And what I remember, one fellow was on an aircraft carrier out on my Wishwe aircraft carrier, but he was sucked up into the intake of a jet.
Ooh.
Broke nearly every bone in his body.
Wow.
And he was in a bed. He required 1 to 2 corpsmen, depending on how many we had.
Yeah.
And we had, I think it was 18 or 25 beds, because they wasn't stacked up; they were all level.
Yeah.
18 or 25. But most of the time they were full, and we were losing one a day, sometime more. During the tent it was more, but that one fellow sucked up in the intake, he was so critical we couldn't medevac him. So his life expectancy was getting short because he hadn't could keep the infection down.
Yeah.
We had to keep it so cold in there that we had to wear coats.
Yeah.
And I say because the heavy air is down,
Yeah.
and it sort of dissipates infection. So, but one time you heard this screech, and I looked over there, and I seen it. It was his intestines come out. You know what it sounds like when you take your hand and run over a full blown
Yeah.
balloon.
Yeah.
That's what his intestines sounded like.
Yeah.
Big bubble. And what you do is you have to get a sterile water and cover them.
Yeah. So how long were you at the ICU on that ship?
13 months.
13 months. It's a long time. Be caring for that kind of casualties that come in continually.
Yeah, there was two more. One of them, his name was Sergeant Brooks. He was a gunshot wound that severed his spine.
Yeah.
And he was worried about his wife and kids. I remember that. Then another time was an Amtrak went over a mine, and that they didn't ride inside; they were on top.
Yeah.
And he got fuel burn. It burned everything but his boots.
Yeah.
And he was on we call a circle electric bed.
Yeah.
You know what that is?
Yeah. Dude.
And he was on that. So I signed myself to him because he was one person. I wish I remember his name. This is hard.
Yeah.
And I was talking to him. He had to be monitored every 15 minutes. And we were talking. He wanted to write a letter, but he couldn't.
Yeah.
So I'll write it. I'll dictate it. So he did. And we got about 2 paragraphs, and he said, I'm tired. So he just let him sleep.
Yeah.
Well, my shift ended. Another one come on. And the next morning I come in, I looked over that bed, it was empty. He had died in the night.
Mm-hmm.
I finished his letter home.
Sign home. Yeah. 13. Most people don't realize how long that 13 months is taking care of those casualties. Recently, they found that those medics that were deployed more than 6 months, most of them come back, and they were unable to deploy again. Most physicians and nurses that deployed over a year left service. They just couldn't. They wouldn't go back. It's too long. It's a long time when you're every day receiving casualties. And did you get them through the Army hospital pipeline, or how did you get them? It was just mainly Marines.
Yeah, Marines and Marines, Vietnamese, NVA, Army, Koreans. We got them all.
So were they triaged and then shipped right to you?
Yeah. Well, sometimes they come off the field.
Really medevaced right to you off the field?
Yeah.
Wow.
It depended on where we were at.
Yeah.
Because we were only 6 miles off the coast.
That is close. So they were medevaced right to you. And I didn't realize that they medevaced right to the ship like that.
They come in by CH-34s, Jolly Green Giants, and Huey, and Chinooks.
So they were fresh combat injuries.
A lot of them, yes.
And so you stabilized them there in the OR.
We had a triage.
Okay.
where we take all the weapons and explosives off of them.
Okay.
That come in with flight jackets,
Yeah.
grenades, rifles.
Yeah.
Leg might be splendid with a rifle,
Yeah.
and all that stuff went overboard.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. You didn't keep count where you just threw it overboard.
No, we were a non-combatant ship. The only thing we had on board, as far as I know, was a 10 or 12 M1 Grands.
So that was your security on your ship then? It was just that?
Yeah, but what it was for sharks. Because once in a while they would get a swim call.
Yeah.
And they put 2 boats out close to the group.
Yeah.
And they were armed, sides and rear, front and back.
For sharks.
For sharks.
Wow.
A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah. They know it now. So you're 13 months on that ship and steady casualties and pretty much working every day, I guess. Yeah.
Sometime longer.
Yeah. You didn't really get any time off that, did you? I mean, did you get some liberty?
If you call it that, we said about every, I guess, 3 to 6 months, we had to go to Subic.
Yeah.
To transfer patients off the ship.
Yeah.
Going to Clark Air Force Base.
Okay.
And catch a medevac flight out, going different which way, Japan, Germany, Hawaii, and States. So Air Force took care of that.
Yeah.
And
so you pretty much stuck on that ship the whole time.
Yeah.
That's hard.
But we got you had duty on the ship because our ward come back empty.
Yeah.
Other wards mostly empty, but we vacated the ship. But you could get liberty in the Philippines.
Yeah.
Longapo City, Subic Bay.
Yeah.
Armpit of the world.
Yeah. I've never heard anything nice about it.
Yeah. I remember you go across the bridge, come off the base and go over a bridge.
Yeah.
And that water looked like the Red River.
Yeah.
And these kids all lined up. They wanted you to throw coins.
Yeah.
I said, how can they see that? So you throw coins, a bunch of them drive in, and they got that coin.
Wow.
They didn't miss a lick.
Wow. So after Vietnam, the 13 months, what happened then?
I got leave, but I had a choice between Dallas, New Orleans, or Corpus.
Okay.
I chose Corpus.
Yeah.
And got down to Corpus, and the master chief there, signed me to officer sick call.
Mm-hmm.
I replaced 2. I was the only one. 7 squadrons.
Yeah.
7 flight surgeons.
Well, sir, I want to thank you for being on Honor Cafe Hall of Heroes.
Yeah.
Got your book here. We're going to look through and pick out some pictures. And I kind of centered this picture back here, this medic, because we were both medics.
Oh.
Well, I was a medic in the Army. so I went the Army route, and you went the Navy route. My dad was in the Navy. And so as one medic who served to another medic, it's thank you for your service. Thank you. That's tough, and people don't realize that length of time being in those close quarters with fresh casualties. Just how difficult it is. But thank you for sharing.
And one thing is, I was a lot of times at dusk and at night, I'd stand out on deck on the rails and just gaze at the coast. And you could see the flares go off, slowly float back down to earth, and then you could hear the explosions as well as see the flash. You can see the flash real good.
Yeah.
But you could hear a muffled.
And you knew you were getting casualties then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks again for tuning in to another episode of Honor Cafe Hall of Heroes.